Okay, welcome to So You Think You Can Write, where we give serious writing critique without taking ourselves too seriously. Today, we are recording at the ANWA conference, and we have a live audience. Yeah, and that's not a canned applause track, so those are real people who actually came to see us, so it's awesome. My name is Lindsay, and with me today is...
Janette, Rallison.
Donna Hatch.
Adrienne, Quintana.
All right, and the way the show works is that we are going to take a look at a first page. Jeanette is going to read on this episode, and if the rest of us think that an agent or editor would stop reading, we are going to...
You too, Donna.
Yeah,
I'm always late to the party.
the rookies, you got to train them. We're going to hit the buzzer and then, of course, explain why. So, and then at the end of it, we will give a rating on what we think the submission was like. All right.
All right. There's not a title on this or a genre. Okay.
Speak into the microphone.
Okay. Though his mind willed... You're...
What? You can't
What?
start with
Is
that.
that the fastest ever? Yeah. So
Wait.
I happened to glimpse... No.
That was real?
That's for real. I happened to glimpse, and if we could zoom on that, which we can't, that says prologue. Okay, if I'm an agent or editor, it's gone.
It's true. A lot don't like prologues. But there are still some times when you
the
can...
agent or editor that I represent, it's
Okay,
gone.
all right. For those of you editors and agents that like prologues, okay. Though his mind willed otherwise, his body professed that the fight was over. The blood-stained rope to which he painfully clung cradled an oak barrel that began to rise above his head once more as it was drawn up into a colossal swell. The expected sting of the rope biting into his torn hands and the burn that accompanied the barrel's sharp yank on his now deformed and swollen shoulder merely radiated a dull twinge of its former fury. His body drifted aimlessly out of the trough, climbing ever higher toward an angry gray sky, tethered by a useless limb to an oak barrel that would neither save him nor allow him to peacefully sink beneath the foaming sea.
I hate to buzz this because it's really well written, but I think we have too many descriptive words happening right there. There are so many in a row that I'm like, yeah. You heard them. There's just a few too many.
It is a lot. Speaking out loud, these sentences feel a little bit long.
Yeah.
So, the storm's viciousness was periodically accentuated by lightning that flashed on an almost unimaginable scale, its electric fingers spidering across the entire expanse of sky before plunging the world once again into rolling darkness. The only evidence of its brief existence was the omnipotent echo of thunder that reverberated through the man's very bones. You already used your buzz. Though he was a strong swimmer and a capable seaman, he'd managed to get swept overboard.
Thank you.
Okay, the description is beautiful and it's vivid, but it's starting to feel too long. Like there's nothing happening. I know nothing about the character. I have no idea who this is. I'm not sure I care about the it's just not internalized enough.
Yes.
It's just beautiful description, like a movie that's sort of panning back and showing you, but it's not. I'm not in. I don't know what the stakes are. I don't know who the people.
We have no internal thought.
Yeah.
So, all right. Where was I? Though he was a strong swimmer and a capable seaman, he'd managed to get swept overboard in a superb error of judgment. He briefly thought of the ocean's weight as it had surged over him when he plunged into its depths from the ship's high railing. He'd managed to gain the surface against the colossal undertow and made it to the crest of the first wave while staying within the rope's throw of the ship. It was a rope that never came. The ship was swept away ahead of him over a mounding wave and out of sight, and as he struggled above the break of the second upsurge, he found his strength was already nearly gone. He caught one last glimpse of the ship as the stern disappeared over a wall of water along with all hope for his survival. By the grace of God, or perhaps by some cosmic taunt, the man saw debris from a section of railing and several large barrels floundering in the watery valley below. Held in place, and then that's all we get.
That's all I got.
So, okay, so beautiful description.
Yeah. Prose is good.
Adrienne, did you?
I
go-
buzzed it for the
use
description. I
prose?
actually
Okay.
liked it. I just thought
Yeah.
that paragraph had just a little bit too much, but I think I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
I think it starts with a really tense scene, which is cool. This guy's been thrown overboard.
Yeah.
And so you're already worried about him. I just think the description part should be
Right.
shortened just a little bit.
Right.
I think it almost, I kind of think it started in the wrong place, too. I think, and it depends on the kind of novel this is or work that this is, but I almost feel like it would have been stronger starting out with him getting swept overboard or thrown over, however it is that he ended. That way, that panic and that internalization that happened as he go, can you imagine the terror, if you're going overboard and you're plunging into this, and then go into maybe some of this description, but sprinkle it out as he's doing, or she is doing things about it as much as you can, thinking of the family will ever see him again,
It's true.
that kind of thing. I think it would be much more emotional and gripping, and you could still sprinkle in this beautiful, vivid, emotional description, but move the story
Yeah.
forward more quickly.
Yeah, I love the description. That's clearly this author's strong point. But yeah, we don't. I thought the second paragraph was stronger than the first, because the first, I know he's in the water, but I don't know if this is a futuristic story. I don't know if this character is young or old, or why he's there. I assumed that he was in a battle, and like his ship had been blown apart. I don't know why I assumed that. But then it's the second paragraph that we get, that he was swept over by an error of judgment. So that tells us a little bit more. But yeah, I think at this time, what would this character be thinking? There would be all sorts of internal thoughts of, am I ready to die? Or, is he thinking, I beat this ocean a dozen times, it's not going to beat me this time, and or is he thinking of his wife, or is he 16? Like, we could learn so much through the internal thought that's just not there. So, yeah, I would suggest this author go back and put in the internal thoughts of what the character is thinking, and also maybe a little bit more about the ship. Are his friends on there? Is he ticked off at his friends because nobody's noticed he's gone overboard, or is this like, those...
Grieving because they all died when the ship was blown up in the battle, or...
Yeah, I think there could be some kind of clue as to who he is in
Yeah.
those paragraphs. Like, is he a Navy seaman, or is he just a fisherman out on a boat? We don't
Do we
really
know
know
it's a he?
Or a
that.
pirate.
Yeah, it's and this
Oh, he
is
could be a
another-
pirate. I like that.
Yeah, though his
Yeah, or like a
mind.
hot pirate.
Well, we don't have. This is kind of also a pet peeve of mine, is that when an author starts out with either a he or she or her or his, and they don't tell us the name, and usually there's no good reason. I mean, sometimes there's a reason, like it's the killer and we're keeping his identity a secret, and then I get it. But if you don't have a reason for keeping the name of the character from us, then the first mention, it should be, though Joe's mind willed him, or whatever his name is, so that we know who we're
It's
thinking
Jason
of.
Bourne.
Though Jason's, that would make a difference.
Yeah,
That
or I mean,
definitely-
like Lieutenant so and so, or
Right.
whatever. Like, you can tell us
Some
a lot
clue.
by just his name.
Because if we're in somebody's point of view, either his or the narrator's, both of those people know what the character's name is, right? So again, and there sometimes if you're writing he's the killer and we're not supposed to know his identity, then okay. But yeah, if you don't have a specific reason to keep it a secret, then tell us.
Okay, and then I have something I'd like to point out. So he talks about he's been swept overboard by a lack of judgment, and it's vague. If you're going to mention that there's lack of judgment, okay, tell me what it is. What did you do that was that lack of judgment? And then there's a chance for characterization, because if you are an able-bodied sailor, you give us some sailing jargon and tell us why that's a mistake. So I would definitely, if it's important enough to mention, it's important enough to give us details about it.
I think there was something in there too, like in that second paragraph, and I don't have it in front of me, where we're seeing that he's been swept overboard, and then some of the language was like, he remembered how blah, 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 which sometimes when you jump into a scene where you're thrown overboard and this guy's being tossed around in the waves, you can't be like, he remembered when he was a young boy, or whatever. Like, you need to make sure that the language that's used there keeps you in the moment of being swept overboard.
Very strong active voice and active verbs, and not things like though and he remembered or he surmised or things like that. That can make it feel more literary and more narrator-y than just the action-packed words.
And would he be remembering or thinking about any of that stuff when he's trying not to drown?
Or
Like-
he could say that idiot, lieutenant, whatever, if he had only done this, then this, or something stronger, more emotional.
Yeah, if he hadn't left his banana peel on deck.
I hate when that happens.
you know.
Okay, so, we ready to vote on that?
Yeah.
Again, Donna, do you remember how that works? We're gonna give it a ready. If we think this person can just send it off to the agents and editors, we're gonna give it a set. If we think it's pretty good and just needs some tweaking, and we're gonna give it a right if we think it needs a decent amount of rewriting before it's ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give it a set. I think we need to go in and put some internal thought about this character to give us some characterization about who this actually is. But I think it's a great start. It's exciting. You wonder what's going to happen to him. Is he going to end up on some island and, Tarzan? I don't know. It could be fun times.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a right because prologues are bad. So, mainly because of that, but then also because of setting. I mean, other than we know that he's in the
Water.
sea, ocean, water, we really don't know the age. We don't know if this is Earth. We don't know if it's a foreign, an alien planet. We need more idea of the setting in order for us to put in our mind how to read the rest of the story, because that really frames the rest of the story, the setting, and that's established in the first couple of pages, ideally in the first couple of paragraphs.
I'm kind of between set and, what was the next word he said, right? I think you've got, I'm kind of leaning towards right, but it's hard to tell because this is a prologue how vital this is to the rest of the story. You may only need to do the author may only need to do some inserting of action or internal point of view to make this ready to go, especially if what you do here doesn't change the entire novel, which I don't think it would. But the description is beautiful, and so I'm imagining really just almost inserts here, here, here kind of thing, and then it could be ready. But depending on how much of this is written in this style, it may need a lot of rewriting. It's just really hard to tell.
Yeah, I should have said, break up your sentence lengths, because there was just like one long sentence after another, and you want to vary that, some short, some medium, some long.
Yeah, and the sentences are beautiful and
Yeah.
descriptive, but I agree, some of them need to be shorter, punchier, get rid of the weaker verbs, get rid of the thought and hoped and those kinds of things. And
Yeah, it's definitely good
but
writing.
this feels sort of like the second pass after a rough draft to me, where it's good and it's getting cleaned up, but it's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I would give it a set also. I don't hate prologues. I would keep reading this. I think the situation is really good that you're starting with. It's intense. I want to know what's going to happen to this guy. So I would just, like I say, shorten that first paragraph, But I feel like you are kind of grounded in the setting. I feel like it pulls you in, and I like to have that description first, but just not quite so much of it. So really, I would just pare back the description a little bit and make sure that you're staying intense and focused in the moment, because he can reflect about stuff after he's not being tossed in the waves.
Okay, there we go. So did we get it right? Go ahead and leave some comments in the comment section below, or feel free to contact us at readysetwritepodcast@gmail.com. So it's been a while since I've had to do that. So. And until the next time, get ready.
Get set.
Right.